Okay, so today I wanted to talk about once again being reactive versus being proactive because I do think that there's a lot of like lessons that I can get from this, and I'm always trying to do better. And I think that one of my resolutions for next year, something I want to improve by the time I'm 29, is that I want to have a better relationship with myself because I think this is the key for me to not get so lost in my fantasies, in daydreams and all that. Although something I wanted to note that happened yesterday when I was going to bed is that I was really happy and contented. Like I wasn't really, like in my fantasies, like I wasn't really indulging them, and they also didn't have like as much of a weight on me. So I was just feeling very content, like with my life, with my lot in life, with what I have, and I was kind of like happy for what I have, and I wasn't thinking too much about what I didn't have, in comparison to like the stuff that because you always want things, but I was okay with like not having some of those things yesterday. So that was pretty interesting development, and today I'm still thinking like that. Like I'm happy with all, because I think food is a good indicator for me, as to what I'm what I'm feeling, because if I'm kind of like constantly thinking about like what I wanted to eat but I can't because usually money reasons, but also like weight reasons, like I want to have really healthy lives. I have also decided I'm not going to the all you can eat sushi buffet, because I already went out Friday, which was my birthday, and went spend time with family and all that. So I'm like, yeah, I don't already spend some money there, so I'm going to that is going to be my birthday celebration. There's still like my brother's birthday, so maybe in January when he turns 18, we're gonna go out to sushi place, and like that's gonna be it. But I decided that like I would not both for financial reasons, but also because I've already been eating a lot, and I'm trying to like lose the weight I've been gaining, and that would just get in the way. I would just put on more weight, so I didn't want that. But basically the fact that I made this choice of like not going there consciously, like that is something to notice, because that means that I'm kind of like a healthy place, with my composition. So another indicator that like I'm doing well and I'm not getting manic. So I'm happy with how things are turning out. But yeah, so basically that is was an interesting decision that I made, and I stand by it. And yeah, that's kind of like that. But back to being reactive versus being proactive. I think that there are ways for me to improve my life without having to sacrifice much, because sometimes like it's hard going from like 0 to 100. So it's more of like a trajectory that I have to follow, and basically I'm kind of I'm trying to figure out where exactly I land on things, and as I said, like it's going to be a little improvement every day. So as I said, I want to be more proactive than reactive. I want to, and for me, a huge way in which this is going to appear is by like by me, like the things that hurt me, the things that trigger me, the things that they lead to like a physical response, not just like physical, but like an angry response for my part. Like I want to make sure that like those things don't happen, and by the way that I have to do that is by kind of like de-escalating the situation in my head, making sure that like I don't really suffer. Today my dad, he read me some verses from, I think he's been reading Proverbs, or something else by Solomon, and he read some to me. And it's interesting because like there were like a bunch of different ones. There was one talking about like how eating and drinking and doing good is kind of like the key to a good life. And I don't know, I think right now I can definitely say that that is the case. I think when I'm manic or depressed, like that doesn't work out as well, but when I'm kind of like stable, like that is kind of like good enough. But there's also there was another one about like injustice, like how the people in charge, the people at the top, like they are oppressive, and that's but basically like thousands of years ago, like that was already the case. So that is always going to be the case, and that is not, I don't know, I think that this could be a very depressing thing to read, but I think that there was an element of being reassuring that like, yeah, maybe things are getting worse, maybe they're not, but nothing's ever going to be kind of like ultimately like good. So but yeah, so like I said, it could be kind of like a bit of a downer, but for me right now I was just like, yeah, that is kind of the case. That's it. Nothing else to say. I have nothing else to say. but it was nice. I think that hearing wisdom from like thousands of years ago, it is kind of like a good way to 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 I don't know, I think it can bring some peace, knowing that like, oh, the things are not necessarily getting worse. They've always been like this, and they always will be like this. As I said, like, it can also be disheartening, but for me today, it wasn't. It was just, you know what, like, that's it, that's good. And like, this helps with the whole triggering thing, because, it makes me like less disheartened when I think about, like the world and the way that things are going. But yeah, so like for me, like the big thing with like being reactive versus being proactive is going to be kind of like like disarming. It's kind of like, it's a ticking bomb, and I'm going to disarm, like those things that make me kind of like upset. And so like this is going to be my proactive action to deal with these things. And I think that right now, like, things are working out great, so I'm not really struggling, but I have to think ahead. I have to think about when I'm medically depressed, and how like I'm going to feel about things, how things are going to how I'm going to process things. So I think that like right now is the right time for me to kind of like try to like look inwardly and figure out like where are my triggers, where are the things that are going to make me like go insane. And as I said, like, I don't know, I think that I have reached kind of like a plateau in which I'm very contented with myself and with my life, so I'm not really progressing as much. So and that's okay. That's okay that this is where I am at today. But it is something to consider, that like if I see like an alteration, me going a little bit like up or a little bit down, for me to go back to like what can and can't happen. Because also, like, I don't want to expose myself to things that are bad, like unnecessarily. Like, it's okay if I feel the need to like to see things in the news and all that, but I don't want to just throw myself out there because I'm having such a good time, and I don't want to ruin it. But news, they kind of like, they come to reach you regardless, and it's one of those things that you can't really control. You can control what's happening out there. Like, you can try to do your part to make kind of like some type of change, but you alone, like, you're just like very small cog in the machine. So it has to be more of a collective effort. And as I said, like, I'm being kind of discouraged in terms of like thinking that things can work out. So there's that. But it is interesting that like, even this disheartening things, they're not making me feel disheartened. I'm kind of like still doing okay. I'm still thinking about my future and about the things I want to do, the things I want to be. And it's sad, with the things that I want to be proactive. So yeah, so there is one way, making sure that I'm kind of like disarming all this. It's kind of like I have like all these minds, and they're way less than they used to be. So this is already like a great improvement, but there's still things that can affect me, and I want it to not be affected, basically. But yeah, but other ways that I can be proactive, I guess, like, involves my professional academic life. I think that there is more than I can be doing in terms of like making some progress. So I think that I want, because I feel like if I can get myself to be proactive regarding like my academic life, I think that I really can like go a long way. I don't know if like when I start studying next year is going to be the thing for me. I mentioned that like I might change to like 2027, and I start something new, but I do want to make more of an effort to be engaged like in courses because I'm going to be there for at least a year. So I want to make sure that I'm I'm doing as much as I can. Like, maybe I don't have to be excelling, like going, beyond what is expected of me, but I do want to at least meet expectations, my expectations for, like, what things are happening. So I don't know how things are going to go, but I want to be proactive that way. I want to kind of like, get ahead of, of pretty much where I have been so far, which has been a very, like, in some ways I have been I've been kind of like below average regarding my academic life for a little while, and some of those things, they're kind of like outside of my control. I had episodes and all that, but there are things that I can still do, that I still plan on doing, to like make the best out of the situation, because these are opportunities, and like, the life is full of opportunities, and I've been trying to seize them. So like, another way that I can be proactive, maybe not so much proactive, because opportunities are appearing, but like I could just discount them. So I do think that it's starting to rain. I do think that, like I want, like maybe it's not an opportunity but like an opening. So I want, like the openings to be acknowledged, but also for me to, like jump in, like maybe it doesn't have to be anything too groundbreaking. It can be just like the opportunity to go to some event, like to some game night, something like that. Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know we're going to meet, how things are going to translate, and it is very telling of like my mental health. If I'm like saying yes more than saying no. So maybe like that's also something that I can do, to be proactive. Say yes. And there's like a lot of like different things that I can say yes to. And as I mentioned, the other day, like sometimes like you have more than one opportunity per day, so like you can embrace things. And I think that that's also the key to my life on earth, is you kind of like be engaged with your community, and trying to like do things that you can possibly do. I think that the way that I was feeling yesterday when I was going to bed, it was not just that my mental health was okay. It was also because of the way that I've been doing things, the way I've been reacting lately. So like it is pretty telling that I'm doing well, because as I said, I'm doing things. Because when I'm depressed, like I usually have like very low energy and will to leave and just an evolution. So right now I'm just saying yes, and I do think that I can extend the amount of time, because that I am like engaged with things, because it feels that there is a bit of a curve, like when it comes to like mania depression. So there's like a little period of time when I'm like getting manic, when I'm getting depressed, where there is some peace, because I think that when I I get a little depressed, like I start getting down, I usually like I settle down and I can do things. So for example, I can write a little bit more, and that is a huge development for me. And so like that is can be a little good, particularly if I'm like up here where I'm just. But when I'm like a little up here, I'm also going out there and doing things and being happy. But basically what I'm trying to say is that I want to kind of like extend my productivity, when I'm like a little up here, a little down here, because I think that is also like me being proactive, kind of like making sure that like I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm making the best out of my situation. So that is, something for me to, look forward to. I want to continue to be stable, so that is, kind of like, that's the way to go. That is how I'm going to, be doing that. That's how I'm going to be doing things now. Like I want to get ahead of the game. And also, like, I still don't fully know what the game is, like, because as I said, for example, academically, like, I don't know if I'm going to be fully engaged with, like, the thing that I'm going to start studying next year. But I still want to, because, like, knowledge, acquiring experience and knowledge, like, it's something that, like, even if you don't conclude, something, like, the time that you have there, that you dedicated to, like, those efforts, like, they are significant. Yeah, like, they, like, they're not wasted time. Basically, I think I used to feel this way, that if I didn't conclude something, I just wasted my time. But like, you can retract knowledge, so like if you learn something, like that time was worth something. Basically, it wasn't a worthless endeavor. Naturally there is I mean, like, if you don't conclude things, because I think that my parents, they did a really good job on me when I was growing up, with, like, making sure that I finished where I started. But, like, if I realized that that's not my thing, not necessarily, didn't have to persist on that, and so yeah, I think, like, that there was a balance there. And I think that these days I'm, like, doing very well in terms of like reaching that balance in my life, like, different areas. And because, as I said, like, your parents can teach you something, but you have your own values, your own peculiarities. So you're not going to necessarily be the person who. So like the person we become is a mix of, like, like nature and nurture. So like they're like the way that you're raised, but there's also like some things they're like intrinsically your own. And I think that, like, right now everything is very well adjusted, like I'm very well adjusted, but also, like my priorities, they are kind of they're like all in the right place, like and but there's nothing wrong with, like, shifting or changing like changing what you like you value. which is, it's an interesting thing to kind of like notice, because like right now that I'm 28, I look back the past decade, and like the person who I was when I was 18 is very different from the person who I am right now. Some things are the same, some of my values, the core principles are the same, but like some things I have learned from life that, so they're like a little different basically. So yeah, I still value, for example, like my professional life. I think that when I was 18, like that was one of the most important things to me. My academic life was kind of like an extension of that, so what I was going for was something that would give me the skills and the knowledge for me to achieve my goals. And my goals, they were all like very much, attached to my work, and like to this day, it's like I'm more like I work so I can, like have resources for me to do the things that matter to me, the things that I want. And there's nothing wrong with that, and I think accepting this reality has, changed my life for the better, because now I am like less stuck in this idea that I have, to have a fulfilling work life. And I mean, work life can still be fulfilling, but it doesn't have to be like the main thing fueling you to live, which is kind of like the case for me, right now. Like as I said, like it's more like an and just like the means type of situation. And as I said, like there's nothing wrong with changing. I think that like I'm happier and more fulfilled having accepted that fact. But yeah, it was good. It's good to accept. Also, like my academic life, I really wanted, to be invested in academia when I was younger. I wanted a master's degree and a doctorate, and like a PhD, or I wanted all the things. And like right now, I realize that like I'm still like enrolled in college, and I'm going to continue to study. But like that path that I had kind of like thought that I might, walk on, like it is different right now. So I still want what I studied to be fulfilling, but once again, it doesn't have to be the main thing about me. Like I think that I am a culmination of like all the different facets of my life, and I think I've come to accept that, like what I'm doing, it isn't necessarily, exactly, it doesn't have to be the most fulfilling thing in my life. But like I do think that you should derive some type of fulfillment from like those activities, both like your work and your academic life. And I think I'm trying to find a balance from, trying to find like the thing that is going to be, like the thing for me. And like my academic life is kind of, because it was kind of like subjected to my professional life, and now I think it's the other way around. Like I'm kind of like trying to find that thing that is going to bring meaning, and whatever I work on is going to be adjacent to that. And I'm going to derive some, pleasure, but as I said, like that's not going to be the main thing. I think that, and even like just because I think time passes and things change, I think that for a while I wanted my writing to be that thing for me. And in some ways it is, but I also realized that like it can be the only thing. I have to have fulfillment and enjoyment from like other facets of my life, and that is one of the things that it can be one of the main things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the only thing, because as I mentioned before, that is also like not enough. Because like when I'm doing well, I can write, but when I'm a little up here, a little down here, things become trickier for me. So basically, I want to. That's one of the things, and my social life. Like this is something that I'm kind of like starting to pay more attention to right now. I'm starting to engage more with things and starting to, like make more of an effort to kind of like make things reciprocal. And it is interesting because basically, I don't know, like even like a year ago, I think I would feel very hesitant to kind of like put so much weight in my social life, because when I was younger, I was very much like, I don't need anyone. I'm my own person, and I don't really need to, I don't want to rely on people. And like right now, I'm more like, I rely on people. So like that was a huge change for me. It was something that really changed the game for me, really changed my life. And also like some of it was not, that I changed, because for example, my parents, like they're very supportive, very loving, so I really need them in my life, and they help me with everything. And they've always, I think that there was maybe a disconnect between like where I was at before and where I am at right now, where I was kind of like more resistant to having their help. Wanted to be independent, but like you can be independent and still rely on people. Like those things are not inherently mutually exclusive. That's really good balance that you can strike, like when you are living your life. And that is kind of like the thing for me. I look back and I am very much Like, yeah, I really rejected that, but I needed their help. You know, like right now when I am doing well, I kind of like I need it less, but there are times where I need the support, and I need their guidance also, and I need, yeah, like their help. It's okay to need help from people. And I know that this is probably obvious to a lot of people, but that was, something that it took a while for me to actually accept. But it's kind of like crazy because there was this paradox, because one hand I didn't want help, but I kind of like needed it, so I was already, like taking the help. I think it was like mostly like monetarily, which is something that made me feel like shit when I was younger, needing, financial help from people. But right now I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take help where I can, because I'm young. The idea is that the older I get, like the more I can, just live my life independently. But as of right now, that is not really the case. I still need some help. I can still, I can pay my bills and all that, but for example, I couldn't afford rent, like in a decent place. So, I'm here, and my parents are fine with me being here. And so, like, I'm very fortunate that way that I have, their support. And like even talking about this makes me feel embarrassed, because I feel like I should be able to kind of like live on my own. And but yeah, it is what it is. But I am making plans back to the whole proactive thing, to kind of like, change my circumstances. And I think that sometimes like that is, it's okay for you to need help, but you do need a plan, like a long-term plan of, how you're going to like do without that. I will always need their love and support, but like I think that there are things that, like right now I'm in a good place where I'm starting to do more for myself, and things are working out, because, ultimately, like I think you have to be realistic about your situation. So there are some things that I'm realistic. I'm like, yeah, I can do this, on my own just now. But as long as I have like a plan, to make sure that like I can, do this in the future, I think it's fine. I think that, you are, I think you need a plan. Sometimes like, having a plan is necessary, but also it makes you feel better about yourself and your circumstances, because yes, this is your reality right now, but it doesn't have to always be your reality. Like you can, in the future, make sure that, that is not, that like you're going to do better. So I think that is like the part of being proactive, making plans about things. And I am looking at all these different facets of my life, and I'm like, yes, this is where I want to be in a decade. Also, like, I think I mentioned some things in my last video that I wanted, for this new decade of my life. And I think that some of the plans I can maybe make them like 5 years instead of like 10. So I want, in 5 years, I want to be, here by the time when I'm 33. Like I want, my circumstances to be different, and it's going to be a journey. It's going to be like, I have to make more of an effort in some areas, or maybe like not more of an effort, but I have to accept more challenges. I have to, like do more things, and right now I'm kind of like equipped to do that. My mind is in the right place. I'm not, giving up. I'm not, stuck in these loops of like, self-destruction, and I don't know if self-pity is the right word, but like it is, some of it is kind of true. But yeah, but that's basically it. Like I want to be more proactive, and and I want, multiple plans, like one for the next year, one for the next 5 years, one for the next, decade. And I think that this, shows in itself that like I am in the right place mentally, and that, I'm starting to, be an active participant in my own life, in a way that I wasn't necessarily before. And like I don't know what is in store for me. I think I say this a lot, but I think that the part that like is up to me. I have some more control, and I'm already, as I said, I'm planning things, and I have like different resolutions for, like where I want to get. And I'm excited. I'm excited about these changes. It's going to be an interesting, because I think that sometimes I'm thinking of, like this thing has to happen in order for me to, like get to, for me to do this or that, like for things to change. But like my circumstances can change. Like I can change my circumstances regardless of like the external factors that sometimes I'm counting on. And there's nothing wrong with that, So like I'm starting to think about like what is going to happen, with me in the future, without necessarily thinking of like this other thing has to happen. I'm making things happen. I am like, like being this hiding incident in like a lot of like different, goals that I have, and a lot of like different things. One that kind of comes to mind, like a good example is like me living on my own. I'm really happy with like where I am at right now, and I think that we have all freaking have struck like a good balance. But I don't know, like maybe I would benefit. I don't think that right now I'm equipped to necessarily do it, because like the biggest thing for me is like my mental health. Because if I live alone and I'm not stable, there is the risk that I'm going to do something to kind of like hurt myself. So that is like one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. But I do intend to grow to be more stable. So one of the reasons why my parents are hesitant with me living is that. So I had to work on my mental health. I had to work on the things that matter to me. So because I'm going to have episodes in the future, but the things that even if I do have episodes, I have to be kind of like able to kind of like no longer have certain thoughts, or at least like not act on those thoughts. So like that's kind of so in a way or another, my priority is my mental health, because for everything else to flow well in all the other life, because if I'm not doing well mentally, I can't study, I can't work, I can't socialize, I can write, I can exercise, like so all these different things that are the only constant is eating. Like when I'm like doing I'm here and here, like I eat. Like that is one constant in my life. But like everything else is very dependent on like me being well here. So this is going to be an interesting journey. And I think that, which is why like I have maybe by 5 years from now, like living alone, but like until I get to the point where I'm like proper stable, it's better for me to be surrounded by people. And that's, as I said, like it's the big thing for me. And I have to kind of like accept it first. So I think that I finally have. But it is kind of crazy, because right now, like I'm thinking, like if right now I was to live on my own, like I'm fine with the depressed episode. It came, like I don't know if I would be able to resist temptation. But yeah, but that is kind of like what I had to say. Plans for the future, being proactive, long-term plans, short-term plans, and ultimately, it's thickening, plot thickens. But yeah, so basically being able to kind of like live on my own, like the most important thing, because like financially, like you'll be able to train, but it will still be doable. But like as I said, mentally, I don't know. Because as I said, like I'm doing well right now, but it's just inevitable for like the next year to come. And I generally don't think that I would be like right now, to be completely realistic. Like I would probably try something, probably do something. And as I said, like that is not. I'm happy being alive, but there's that. I want to continue being happy. But as I said, like I definitely am seeing improvement in like as I said, like right now I'm stable, so it's easier for me to see my improvements. Oh, it's starting to rain this way. I'm gonna wrap it up. But like I have to be tested, basically. Like that's the thing. Until I'm tested, I don't know for sure where I'm at. But I don't want to be tested, because I want to continue being here, mentally stable. So yeah. Anyways, bye.